Second Amendment and how it relates to militias is, and again before, as I said, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And how that relates to the citizens is that every single American citizen is by birth a militia member, whether you want to accept it or not. You are one. It's the American citizen's duty to be a militia member, to be politically involved, to be supporting pro-American movements, that sort of thing. And how it relates to the individual citizen is you have a duty to protect and support your country. I started 2014 PSM almost 2 years ago now, and so I've been a member the whole time. And the reason that I joined this militia or started this was because there was a couple other groups out there in Pennsylvania, and at the time I was trying to join a group for about 2 years. I never heard any response, and I won't name names, but I've never heard a response. So one day I just decided I have this sort of background that I have. I have a background in criminal justice, military, security operations. So I figured, there's a lot of good that I can do. And, the more time went by, I never heard back from them. So I just decided, hey, I'll just start my own. And my goal was to make it the most professional organization that this state has ever seen. And so far, we're on the perfect track to do that. So, in my opinion, the militia, it's an interesting concept because there's so many different types of militia groups. And it's funny because I never really knew, even me, I never really knew how to describe the militia until maybe a little while ago. And what I've been able to really come up with is it's a group of individuals who come together for self-preservation. And they really, in turn, with all the training, with the medical, with the use of force continuum, with just the things that we train in, it ultimately makes a safer community. A citizen can gain a lot by joining a militia, specifically joining ours, and again others as well. But your firearm skills are definitely going to improve. As long as your group is training, your firearm skills are going to improve. You're going to learn weapon safety. You're going to learn weapons conditions. You're going to learn. You might even learn use of force continuum. With us, you definitely will learn use of force continuum, first aid. There's also drills, there's formations, there's room clearing. So you actually pick up a lot of things that increase your odds of survival and also the odds of survival of the people around you. Pennsylvania State Militia has one mandatory training a month, and its training mainly consists of first aid, IFAKs, individual first aid kits, the practical application of that first aid kit, individual first aid kit. It also goes off to room clearing, formations, use of force continuum, and every once in a while we'll have field operations where it's a culmination of everything. And so we try and touch on as much as possible. Pretty soon we're actually going to be working on we're actually going to roll in react to contact and all that good stuff too. So it's constantly developing, but the main things are use of force continuum, first aid, and room clearing and formations. 2014 Pennsylvania State Militia does have military veterans in its ranks currently. I myself am a military veteran. There's many others, but the types of things that they bring to the table are usually outstanding. Anything from room clearing and all different sorts of room clearing, from quad to mount to other stuff. Same thing with our combat medics. I think we have 2 or 3 on board right now that are active, and they're on our MRT, and they do pretty good work with our MRT as well. Now with the military veterans, what we actually do is if you want to join and you're a military veteran and you provide a DD-214, after 6 months we'll actually match your rank up to E4, so that way, if you've done something in the past and you come here, you don't start out bottom barrel, you actually get some recognition. And that's just kind of one way that we can give back to you guys for sacrificing what you sacrificed. 2014 Pennsylvania State Militia's relationship with law enforcement is pretty good. At our one training site, there's actually local police that pass by all day long, and even with those guys, it's always thumbs up, it's waving, and we have some law enforcement individuals come on board every once in a while as well, and they actually bring a lot of skill and a lot of just a lot of professionalism to the whole thing. And it doesn't just really stop with law enforcement. Emergency responders of all sorts. I will say this about law enforcement, though. If you're a constitutional law enforcement officer, you belong here. You belong here. Constitution, flat out in your Second Amendment, simply states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And what that means is that the normal, everyday American citizen is the militia, so they have to be able to keep and bear arms. Because, traditionally, if you look at situations that just have been unfolding. If you look at, for example, the Bundy Ranch a couple of years back. If you look at, I believe it was in the 40s, a bunch of, World War II veterans came back and they found their local society in, it was basically just oppression and tyranny everywhere. It was specifically related to ballots and voting. These guys stood up for the Bill of Rights and they did what they had to do. And every situation that I can think of, even the Sugar Pine Mine, not one individual ever got in trouble for his actions standing up for the Bill of Rights. The militia is actually 100% pro-government. They're pro-government because they stand for American government, which is constitutional government. If the government's doing what it's supposed to do, they're never going to have a problem from the American citizens, ever. The problem is that when certain people in power try and abuse that power, that's when they ruffle our feathers, and that's when the negative stuff starts developing. For the most part, the negative connotation associated with militias is primarily through media and just people not having the proper education. If you look at a group like us, you would never know, you would never think anything negative. Some other groups out there might say stuff and might put themselves in a position, but for the most part, we're 100% pro-government. We just want to see American constitutional government. 2014 Pennsylvania was also went out to 2 recruiting centers. One was in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and one was in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Both of them were pretty successful. We did get shut down a little early at the Scranton event, but for the most part, the active military, even local law enforcement, nothing but thumbs up and waves and high fives, and they loved what we did. Four-man team. What you're going to do is you're always in sort of a diamond formation. This is more for like hallways and stuff like that. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead and get in a diamond right here. We're going to have one guy here, one guy here, one guy there, and one guy there. And you're going to look like a diamond. Good. So basically what we're looking at here is pretend there's rooms on this side too. Quad is something that all domestic law enforcement agencies use. All of them pretty much. There's a couple exceptions, but for the most part, that's what you have. The reason we train in this is because we could potentially integrate with other law enforcement officers coming on board, and also them coming on board with what they already know. They just roll right into this. Okay, you're going to be doing the same thing, whipping up on this side here. You're going to move back a little bit. Okay, good. Your weapon, you're going to be at low ready. You're good right there. And you are basically going to be watching the 6. So every couple of steps, you're going to turn around and make sure that behind you is good to go. All right. Stay away from those. You want to stay away from those walls. Any kind of ricochet, any kind of spalling, any kind of explosion. You just want to stay away from that just a little bit. Also, not only that, but if you're right up on this, real close, what's wrong with this? Muzzle, and then I also hit the wall. Yeah. The bad guy's going to probably take my gun if he knows what he's doing, right? So don't give him that opportunity. Stay back. All right. So you're good right there. You're good right there. So what you want to do is when you come in, immediately cut left. You immediately cut left. Good. Go. Good. Now, as soon as you take those corners, clear. Move it. Out. Set. Moving. Out. Okay, good. We also work with oath keepers as well, state and national oath keepers. And one thing we even have tomorrow is a parade in Wyoming, Wyoming, and we're actually going there to represent ourselves, and we were requested to actually show up to that, so we'll be doing that tomorrow as well. And for the future, any way we could possibly help pro-American movements, we're going to be there. A couple of ways that militias could help communities is, for natural disasters or man-made disasters. For example, floods. Floods, you can sandbag, you can help National Guard pass out food, supplies. Maybe you have some of your own. The types of stuff that Pennsylvania State Militia trains for in the event of something like that is, for the most part, it's basically how to protect one another, how to protect other people. So if there's a situation that unfolds where total chaos comes out of it, we can actually create a safe zone and try and secure as much of that surrounding area as possible to reestablish rule of law and to provide as normal of life as possible for others.
I've been a member for 1 year now. I've always wanted to fight for my country and protect the Constitution, and I found this is the best way to do it because we have a lot of great guys here who are like-minded individuals, and I feel really at home here with these guys. I've seen a lot of things going on I didn't like, especially now with the new administration, which just really hit me at home and a lot of Americans. And I actually found this group and I'm like, all right, let me join. And that's pretty much why I'm here. PSM, we're training to pretty much deal with the community and help whenever we can. If it's medically, security-wise, or even crossing an old lady across the street, we're there for them. We're there to back up law enforcement whenever needed. A militia is civilians that protect the Constitution and uphold the true values of the American tradition. I've seen that they've been trying to do away with it for a few years now, but it's never going to happen. That we are allowed to have a militia, an organized militia of citizens to protect our rights as Americans, and that's what I intend to do and what we intend to do. Second Amendment is the right to bear arms, and we have that right. A lot of people try to twist the words, and the militia is here to preserve the Second Amendment, not in wise of like people have us militias like, oh, we'll go out and shoot everything. No, militia is here to protect it. When it times comes, when they come to take it, we will be there to protect it. Well, there is definitely a brotherhood going on now because I've been in here since last, I would say, summer, and I've grown to know a lot of these guys, and new guys keep coming down, and it's like I've known them for years. Yeah, I make a lot of new friends. Wow, like since I've been here, I learned a lot because we have ex-military here. They train me a lot. I taught a lot of people so we're all sharing knowledge based upon the same goal, which is, to me, is worth more than money. These times are in trouble. I see America just degrading away, and people are allowing it to happen. These guys we got here and the woman we have, join out, go out, join a local militia, do what you can for your public, because when time needs you, we're going to be there. You're going to be there.
Keep it on him, right? The other thing is, so as he gets me, and I come back here, I want to go high. I want to try to get above that gun because if it does go off, that round's going down. I don't want to get hit by it. I might. If I get hit, like my arm's still functioning, I got to take it. But I want to try to get above it and then come down on it. From here, it does not matter what you do. What matters is you have to live, right? There are things you can do. We talked about brainstem. I can just pop him. So I'm going to hit him here, and I'm just going to start pounding him back here until he goes out. Or I'm going to knee him, and kick. It might stomp the Achilles. I might just trip him this way. I might start a choke to make him defend the choke, and then just start. Now look, I'll show you something. See, here's the thing. So I can come in here and the lawnmower
Yeah,
start and sever the spinal column, right?
I'm very much a constitutionalist. My degrees are in history and political science. I'm actually blood related to Jefferson, and I'm a big Jeffersonian. And I believe in maintenance of the Constitution and the right of free people to bear arms and protect themselves and protect others, the community, and who need be. So I think a militia is a necessary. I won't say necessarily necessary evil, but it's a necessary entity to have. Militia is, in my opinion, it's a body of both men and women from a local community or from a state, but usually it's a community that come together with the same goal or same intentions of protecting themselves, protecting others, making sure the community is maintained and safe and peaceful, making sure that there is no overreach or over encroachment by the state, if need be, or to also assist the state and state entities like police or military, if need be, in times of trouble. So I think, again, a militia is a necessary entity for those reasons. We train for a number of events. I mean, again, we train for natural disasters, some kind of community disaster, whether it be, who knows? Again, natural disaster, explosion, something. Where we were just doing medical stuff where we could all show up on the scene and render some type of medical aid. We have a number of medics. We also have people who are now getting trained to at least assist and help and do different things, and then get out of the way of professionals if need be. If law and order breaks down for whatever reason, it's highly unlikely that this country will be invaded. But if that were to happen, or if there were some kind of economic or collapse or EMP or anything, any of these scenarios people talk about, we don't train for anything specifically, but we train for any and all eventualities. So if anything happens that would cause the community to break down, we could be there, not necessarily to maintain law and order, but to keep the peace and to keep people from eating each other, essentially, to keep people from going at each other, and keep people reminded that we're all in this together. And I think that should be our first and primary mission, is to make sure that we all remain united and working as a community toward the same goals of keeping things running and maintained and keeping civilization going. But the Constitution states that there should be a militia should be maintained, that there always should be a militia. And again, now you have state entities and you have people who argue that the militia was meant to be the military or meant to be the police. At the same time, the original the founders didn't believe in having a standing army, and the idea was that the people would come together who would all be armed. They expected everyone to be armed and to be trained as well. And the people would come together in a time of national need to defend the country. So the founders felt the people were, the country was about the people first and foremost, and the people would defend the country first and foremost. And the need for a standing army or standing group, whether it be law enforcement or military, wasn't necessary, because they had just left that kind of arrangement, and they didn't want, that overreach to come back into their lives. So while we have great respect for our military, we have military members. We have former police, former military and current military, and former police and current police, and we also understand that there are times when those entities may not be able to maintain everything, or maybe used by the state to encroach upon the people, and at some point somebody else has to step in, and that's what the militia is for. Hopefully we have, if the time comes, we have built up a relationship with the community and with community officials, mayor, governor, whoever, where they would feel comfortable calling us in to assist. If not, then it comes down to a determination of what is the situation, and does someone else, is there an official body, does someone have it under control? And if not, then somebody has to step up, and it's not about any kind of power grab, it's not about any kind of power lust, it's not about any kind of arrogance or we think we can do a better job than the military or the police. It's, again, we're just there to help as best as we can. I believe a citizen can gain, I think a deeper sense of community. They're meeting people who care enough about their community that they're actually training to be of help to the community. So you're meeting good people with good intentions and good hearts. And, there's all these stereotypes about gun owners and this and that. And I think a lot of us represent, I think all of us represent, the best of that. Nobody, I haven't met anyone here who's gun crazy, gung ho, and always talking about carrying their guns, and there's no braggarts. There's no. I haven't met a lot of ego. So we're not the stereotype of what's become the stereotype of gun owners. And you're going to meet people who again are gun owners, but are caring about the community and care about their fellow man and care about doing what's right. Again, at times of need, and learning to help people with medical conditions, learning to help people if there's like a fire, we're in the area, get them out of, just help in all the different ways that, anyone can think of within the law. And again, if society breaks down to try to maintain, I don't like saying rule of law because again, we're not law enforcement and we're not the government, but to maintain order to some degree, without becoming tyrannical or overreaching ourselves. So I think what people will gain from joining the militia is that sense of community, that sense of belonging to something greater than themselves, And it's not the same as, I hate seeing militias get stereotyped as these groups of racists or bigots or any of these stereotypes because, again, no one here, I think, embodies that. I think we embody, I like to say the best of what the nation has to offer. We don't discriminate whatsoever. We actually had we have Muslim members. We have obviously members of different races. I'm mixed. We have Latino members, Latino Hispanic. We have Black. We have a number of different people of different backgrounds. We have people who are citizens who were foreign born. So we have a number of people who are from different backgrounds. So we don't discriminate whatsoever. I think the stereotype came from, there were groups, and there still are militias out there, which are race-based. I mean, let's be honest, there are. Is that the majority? I don't think so. That being said, where the majority of militias tend to be is in the heartland of the country, and there's not a lot of minorities or people of different ethnic backgrounds or religious backgrounds. I mean, there's a lot of people who look the same, So it's not a purposeful discriminatory practice. It's just circumstance. It's just the reality of how the country is broken down, socioeconomically and ethnographically and stuff like that. So I think that's where the stereotype comes from. And then in the 80s, there were, again, a lot of militias that got a bad rap and ran afoul of the law and happened to have race issues with people of other races and other groups. So I think it became a stereotype. I think it stuck. And I think politicians now use it for political capital and for their own benefit and to manipulate people. As an historian, going back in time, race has been an ever-changing thing. Politics has been an ever-changing thing. Religion's been, a pretty ever-changing thing. And those things have all been used to manipulate people, and they still are. And people still fall for it. And until people stop falling for it, it will continue to be used. So I think that's where the stereotype comes from. Again, care about your community, care about your family, want to learn some skills, be helpful, want to learn some skills. I mean, we take all this kit off, and we still have medical skills we're learning. We still have the hand-to-hand skills we're learning. We still have the various skills that we're learning and teaching and giving to people. And you're going to leave here with skills that you can use in every aspect of your life. So it's a benefit to join to gain skills and to meet good people.